November 30th, some of the big news stories that are trending, and we're covering, one, the weather. It's going to start raining tomorrow, big time, over the weekend. Looks like the Rose Bowl and the Rose Parade are going to be, well, under the weather, if you will. And also one of the big stories is Pele, the Brazilian king of soccer. I thought I'd share some of what he was about. Really an extraordinary person. I mean, just a world figure, one of the best known figures on the planet, and rightly so, Brazilian. And as I grew up in Brazil, spent my early formative years, that was simply part of the language. Pele was simply who you read about, talked about, enjoyed. He was born, dead broke. Edson Arantes do Nascimento. Edson, because of Thomas Edison. His parents were big fans of Thomas Edison, so that's how he became Edson. And his nickname was Pele, and he hated it as a kid. They would make fun of him, and all of a sudden, he becomes the greatest soccer player in the world, uses Pele, and that's not a name you made fun of. And he came, and I'd say, poor. That family didn't have enough to eat. He grew up in a shack with his uncle, his siblings, his parents, and the soccer ball that he played with wasn't a ball. They couldn't afford a ball. So they'd take pieces of cloth and literally wrap them up with string, and that's he played on the streets. And he did it in Santos, which is a poor district. It's a port city right outside of São Paulo. And it's a rough place to go. And he came up to become clearly the most famous soccer player in the world. Why? Because he was the best soccer player in the world. And here are a few things that he did. For example, he played his first World Cup before his 17th birthday and scored a goal. No one has ever come close to that. He has scored more goals than any soccer player in history. He's taken Brazil to 3 World Cups. Brazil has 5, and it's the leader at this point. And it was, one more, and you don't have many countries that have taken 5 World Cups. This is a poor nation, or certainly was a poor nation. And the first World Cup he was in is 1958. And he actually came to the United States, and he brought soccer to the United States. And we were talking this morning, Jason and I were talking about video that's out there, watching him play. He could score goals with either foot. He was just as good with his left and his right foot.
Something I didn't notice until I watched those highlights on that show was that he would dribble off of his opponent's shin guard. Like he would bounce the ball back to himself at an angle off of the shin guard. And it was just incredible.
And then if you see the video of his bicycle kick, and a bicycle kick, let me just quickly describe it if I can. The ball is about, head height. And what he would be able to do as the ball was coming to him, and it was, and his teammates would actually kick to him at that height. What he would do is kick up in the air with his back, facing the ground, with his back in that direction, and then slam his leg up, around, and kick the ball into the goal. And then he will go all the way around. That's why he called it a bicycle kick. It is one of the most extraordinary moves that any athlete can make, and it is so thrilling. And the thing about Pele, which is so terrific, is he became a very wealthy man, as you can imagine, with endorsements and various business investments, which he lost a pile of money on, I might add, is that he devoted his life to charity. He devoted his life to kids, charities, and promoting soccer around the world. And he is, just to give you the idea, the Shah of Iran once waited 3 hours to meet him. When he met President Reagan, the president shook his hand and said, "Hi, I'm Ronald Reagan. You don't even have to tell me your name. Everybody in the world knows who Pele is." He met dozens of head of state, and we're not talking about in an official move where they have to meet and it's protocol. These are heads of state that were desperate to meet him because I shook hands with Pele. And it was, when you look at this stuff, it's just incredible. He was knighted by the Queen of England. How many Americans think have a knighthood by the Queen? I mean, almost none. And his dad was a soccer player, minor league soccer player, who was injured, so he couldn't do much about it. And of course, this little kid, and no formal teaching, didn't have coaches, did this all on his own with most natural talent that he was given. Who was it that once, I think Charlton Heston, once in describing his role as Michelangelo. Charlton Heston played Michelangelo in a great movie. And when describing Michelangelo, he said, once every 1,000 years or so, or once every 500 years, God blows in someone's ear. And out of that comes a Michelangelo. Out of that comes a Pele. And I thought that was absolutely just a perfect definition of who this man was. He was declared a national treasure officially by Brazil's president before he turned 21. What a life, what a guy, for sure. Coming up at the White House, Biden